Good morning. It's such a lovely morning that I decided to get up early and do some filming, and it just really doesn't get any better than this. So I'm going to do a few swings. I'm going to give you a different down the line angle as well, and then I'm going to get a chair and I'm going to sit down and have a little chat about something, just to say an experience and something that will produce, I believe, something that will help you to play golf without thinking. So here we go, a few swings to loosen up in the morning. Haven't done my exercise yet, it's a bit too early. I'll be doing them straight after this video. Okay, let's see if we've got that rhythm going. And I've just got one little thing to add here. We talked about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, I'm just going to add another 5. Okay, so see if you can hear this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're all quite anxious to do the next swing, and one of the problems with these swing trainers is you can go bang, bang, bang. And I prefer practicing individual swings. So that extra 5, holding the finish for about 5 seconds, means that you don't then rush on to the next one. And you've practiced being in that balance, holding that finish. And the more you practice that, the more likely you are to achieve it when you actually get out on the golf course. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I'm going to do that. You can count. Okay, so now 1 or 2 down the line. Hi, so I did say that I would be talking to you about something that I think is going to help you play without thinking too much. But I just want to read out an email that came to me overnight from Linda, and it's about her and Joe. They're both 76 years old. They're both from Boston in the States. He's a hand surgeon. I've mentioned him before, and he's got 2 new knees, 2 new hips. He's waiting for 2 new shoulders. I don't know when that's going to happen, and well, you'll hear how things are going for him at that age and with those physical constraints. And then he reads you a little bit. Our time with you in France has resonated with all of us. Joe is swinging slower and more consistently and further than ever. He's hit some of the longest drives I've ever seen him hit. I had a eureka moment a few weeks ago where I got out of my own way and had the smoothest, most effortless swing. The connection with the ball was so clean and crisp it literally flew down the fairway. I thought, what just happened? That was amazing. I have been able to replicate it with some consistency, and now that I know what it feels like, it's going to happen naturally. So the nearer we can get to that, and hopefully this is everything I'm doing is helping you to paint a picture of how this game could be so wonderful, and to understand what we need to do literally to get out of our own way so that it can happen. So let me just put that to one side. Now, so the purpose of this story is actually to talk about the consequences of doubt. And let me just tell the story first. I was playing in a championship in England. It was in March. It was a very cold, wet and horrible day. It was 36 holes in the same day. Yes, we used to do that. This is about 1973, I think, maybe 72. And I was playing on a championship course called Walton Heath, which has hosted the Ryder Cup near London. Absolutely wonderful golf course. And you play the 2 courses, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. It was dreadful weather, And although I had a sponsor at that time, I didn't think I had enough money, so I never had a caddy. And it was pouring with rain, it was freezing cold, blowing a bit of a gale, and I'm practicing the putting, and this little old fella, in those days caddies were fairly, let's say they weren't from the upper echelons of society. And this guy sidled up to me and he said, "You like a caddy, sir?" And he's about 60 and I'm only about, I'd have been 20, maybe 21. And I looked at the weather and I said, "How much?" And he said, maybe it's only £10 or something for the day. And I thought, I'll pay for that out of my own pocket. It's got to be a good idea. So I said yes. So I played down the first, second, third, fourth. It's the fourth or maybe even the fifth hole. He hadn't said a word. And I hit my drive down the fairway and I'm looking and I can't quite see where I'm going, and I don't know what club to take. And he'd obviously sussed me out by then, and he just walked over, took a 6-iron out of the bag, gave it to me, and he said, "You see that little bush to the right of the flag, sir?" I said, "Yes." He said, "That's the club, hit it there." All of a sudden, all those questions I had about what club, where to hit it, how's it, he'd taken it all away from me. So I hit a nice shot, and that's what he did for the rest of the day. And all I can tell you is that morning I went round in 3 under par, bogeying the last. I had a 5-shot lead at lunchtime over a field of very good players. Some tour players in those days used to play local championships. And it was so simple. And it was only many years later that I realised what had happened. Unfortunately, I went back to playing some tournaments, not for very long, because I decided I wasn't doing very well, and I went back to being an assistant pro at a club. But in retrospect, I realised that he'd just taken all the doubt. He said, "This is the club, sir, do that." Wonderful. So we actually play with doubt, because most of the time we're playing on our own. If we're lucky, we can still have a caddy, but there aren't that many about these days. So he'd taken doubt away. And if you're standing there and you're wondering, you've got all these questions going on in your mind, it's then very difficult to stand over the ball with a quiet mind, not thinking, and just let your body make the shot. So I've then discovered a book a few years ago, which is called 7 Days in Utopia, but by I think somebody called David L. Cooke from memory. And it tells a story. It's not a book full of technique, it just tells a story about a young tour pro in America. And I won't tell you that much about the book. I'll tell you 2 things. One is that when you read the first few pages, which tells the story of how he played in the last round of the Texas Open, starting on the 10th hole, when he was in contention, it's gut-wrenching. So just remember me when you read those first few pages. Anyway, he goes off, he has a bad experience, and he's not doing very well anyway. He gets in his car, drives, he ends up at a crossroads with a signpost, Utopia one way, and he thought, well, I'll go to Utopia, that sounds good enough to me. And actually Utopia in Texas does exist. And he finds an old guru golf coach at a beaten up 9-hole public course, and has 7 days there with him and learns a lot of interesting things. And one of the things that I took on board was his description. One day he agrees to meet the guru. Yeah, he agrees to meet the guru on one of the holes on the course. And when he gets there, the guru's there with a canvas, an easel, and some paints and brushes. And he says, "Look, your ball's here, you're in the rough, and you've got to negotiate your way to the green, and there's a big tree in the way. So can you see the shot?" And he looked and said, "Yeah, I'd have to hit it a bit low and under the branch, isn't it?" "Okay, paint it." So he then paints a picture of the shot. And the following day they played on the course, and of course, lo and behold, on that particular hole, he drives his ball to exactly that same place in the rough. And the coach said, "Okay, now I want you," he said, "can you see it?" Yes, but he's got the painting in his mind as well. Yes, I can see it. Can you feel it? Yes, I think I can feel what that would be like. Okay. Right, now stand up to the ball and trust it. And of course he hits the exact shot that he'd seen and painted on the canvas. And I used that, and I haven't been playing very much serious golf, and I tend to play a lot of my golf when I'm with my students, and to be perfectly honest, I'm not into my own game. It's quite damaging for my own game because I'm just not there. I'm more concerned with them and what's going on with their games. But when I play seriously, I do what I call see it, feel it, trust it, shortened to SFT if you like. And again, the purpose of this is it takes my mind away from any doubt, because what I do is I stand there behind the ball, so I'm looking towards the target, and in my mind's eye, and I've chosen the club, I can see the club head, be it a 6-iron, be it a driver or whatever, even a putt, and I see the club head come and strike the ball. I see the ball take off on a red line through the sky with an arrow at the front of it, and I watch that whole thing. I see the ball land and roll and stop. Then I say to myself, can I feel, and I don't actually make swings, I just in my mind, can I feel what that would be like? Okay, and now trust it. And the trust it was so important for me, because it meant now don't think about it, don't concern yourself with how you're going to do it, just trust your body to do it. And of course, if you're standing over the ball, let's say on a putt, it's slightly different. I don't see a red arrow, I see the ball burning a line on the green. Of course it doesn't in reality, but in my mind's eye. And then either stand there and all I've got to do is hit the ball down that line. I don't have to hit the ball wondering whether, have I got it right, does it come from the right, does it come from the left, is it a bit quicker, is it a bit downhill? I don't think about those things, I've seen it, I just stand there and do it. And the problem with thinking too much, and particularly thinking about your body, is that you've got all these instructions you're giving yourself, all these list of things that you think you've got to get right, and that creates a lot of doubt because you're not even sure that you've got the right club in your hand, you're not quite sure about where you're going, you're not sure about what the result's going to be because it's such an inconsistent game. How can we ever be certain? So this particular methodology, if you like, to me cut all that out, do that. And I can still remember rounds of golf where I've come off and thought, well, I played quite nicely, and I've no memory from my golf swing other than the fact that it felt good and it produced a high percentage of good results. So I hope that helps for you. I think that anything that you can do in your own way, the deep breath before every shot, using your swing trainer to ingrain that lovely feeling and your best swing, and then go out there and just enjoy, as the advert says, just do it. So look forward to the next one. The next one I will be answering your questions again. By the way, the number of reviews on the videos is interesting. I reply to those, and then I get sometimes we exchange 2 or 3 messages. I'm getting more and more emails, so the way you are interacting with this has been fantastic, so please keep that happening. Unfortunately, it's getting to a stage where there's no way, unless I'm going to be in isolation for the next 5 years, that I'll be able to answer everybody's questions, but I'll certainly do as many as I possibly can. Sorry about that. Okay, see you next time.